The morning rush at Mel's diner was always loud, clinking plates, sizzling bacon, voices overlapping like waves. But that day, amidst all the noise, Sarah noticed him again. A boy, no older than 10, sat alone at the farthest booth, his hands folded tightly, his eyes downcast. He wore the same oversized hoodie he had the day before. And the day before that. His shoes were torn at the edges, his laces mismatched. What struck Sarah most wasn't his ragged appearance, but the way he stared at the menu without ever ordering. Her heart clenched. She had seen hunger before. She had lived through it. So, quietly, without asking questions, she placed a plate of pancakes and scrambled eggs in front of him. "On the house," she whispered with a smile. The boy's eyes widened, his lips trembling. For the first time, he looked directly at her and nodded. He didn't say a word, but Sarah understood. Sometimes silence said more than words. Day after day. The boy became a fixture in her mornings. Every day, he came in, always alone, always quiet. He never ordered, never asked, but Sarah always placed a warm plate in front of him. Sometimes it was pancakes, sometimes soup, sometimes just toast and eggs. She never pried. She never demanded his story. All she knew was that he was hungry, and that was enough. Her co-workers teased her gently. "Sarah, you're gonna run this place into the ground giving out free meals," her manager, Rick, chuckled. But Sarah only shrugged. If you've ever gone to bed hungry, you'd understand. Because once upon a time, Sarah had been that child. She remembered long nights when her mother worked double shifts and there was barely enough food. She remembered the ache of an empty stomach and the embarrassment of not having lunch at school. If someone had shown her kindness then, maybe life would have felt a little less cruel. So she fed him. Every day. The mystery. Weeks passed, and Sarah grew curious. Who was this boy? Why was he always alone? One evening, as she walked home from her shift, she noticed him across the street. He wasn't alone this time, he was carrying a grocery bag that looked too heavy for his small frame. He walked into an old, run-down apartment building. The kind of place where doors never locked and neighbors avoided eye contact. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She thought about the boy lying in some cold room, maybe taking care of himself, maybe waiting for parents who never showed. She wanted to help, but how far could she go? She was just a waitress barely making ends meet herself. Still, she made a silent promise, as long as he keeps walking into that diner, I'll keep feeding him. The struggle. But life wasn't easy for Sarah either. Bills piled up. Rent went up. Her mom got sick, and hospital visits drained whatever savings she had. There were days when Sarah had to choose between paying her own electricity bill and slipping an extra sandwich into a paper bag for the boy to take home. Her manager grew stricter. "We're losing money, Sarah. I can't afford to let you hand out food anymore." Sarah's heart sank. But she couldn't bear the thought of the boy walking in one day and leaving empty-handed. So, she started sneaking leftovers into containers, hiding them in her purse, and slipping them to him discreetly. She risked her job every time. But to her, kindness wasn't optional, it was survival. The turning point. One chilly morning, just as Sarah was pouring coffee for a customer, she heard it, the rumble of engines. Not one, not two, but 4 sleek black SUVs pulled up outside the diner. The entire restaurant went silent, forks frozen midair, eyes glued to the windows. The doors opened, and out stepped men in dark suits. They scanned the diner carefully before one of them pushed the door open. The bell chimed. Sarah's heart pounded. The air felt heavy with tension. Customers whispered nervously. Who were these people? What did they want in a small-town diner? And then she saw him. The boy. The same boy she had been feeding for weeks, walking in behind them. Only this time, he wasn't wearing his ragged hoodie. He wore a clean shirt, his hair combed neatly, though he still kept his gaze low. The men escorted him like he was someone important. Sarah's hands trembled as she set down the coffee pot. The boy's eyes found hers. And for the first time, he smiled. The truth revealed. One of the suited men approached Sarah. Are you the one who's been feeding the young master? Sarah blinked. The what? The men gave a small, respectful nod. This boy is the son of Mr. Donovan Hayes. The name hit the room like a thunderclap. Donovan Hayes, the billionaire investor whose face was on every business magazine cover, whose name was tied to skyscrapers and global corporations. Sarah's knees weakened. She looked at the boy, who now stood closer, his eyes shimmering with tears. He ran away, the men continued. After his mother passed, he stopped speaking. Mr. Hayes didn't know how to reach him. The boy disappeared weeks ago. We've been searching everywhere. Sarah's lips parted, but no words came. She looked at the boy. He looked back, his silence heavier than ever, until he finally whispered, his voice hoarse but clear. She fed me. The diner gasped. Sarah's own eyes filled. She fed me every day, he said louder this time, his small fists clenched. She's the only one who noticed. The father. Moments later, the diner door opened again. A tall man in an expensive suit walked in, his presence commanding. Donovan Hayes himself. His eyes scanned the room before landing on Sarah and his son. The boy ran to him hesitantly. Hayes knelt, pulling him into his arms, his face crumbling with relief. For the first time, Sarah saw not the billionaire, not the empire builder, but just a grieving father desperate for his child. After a long embrace, Hayes turned to Sarah. You fed my son. Sarah nodded quietly. He was